Okay, this is our first tutorial. We are going to start by basically building from scratch. We're going to build an 11-inch Qualitex balloon model that we're going to use that model to then build a toolbox. Your workspace should look like this. If you don't know how to get to this point and have your workspace and have the program look like this, please go back and watch the video on this same YouTube channel. It's called Config1, C-O-N-F-I-G-1. That'll tell you how to get a hold of the software, how to install it, and how to configure your workspace so it looks like mine, and there's certain settings and things so everything matches and everything works the way I work. Okay, so we're ready to go. We need to get a reference image to work from. So let's go to a web browser and go to Google and search for Mayflower Distributing. This is my supplier out here on the West Coast, Southern California. And we're going to go to the mayflowerdistributing.com website. And then up here in the search box, we're going to put in 81947 and enter, and then select this 11-inch dark blue, and that'll take us to here, and that gives us this nice great image of an 11-inch Qualitex balloon. This is right out of their catalog, so it's the right shape, it's perfect. Go ahead and right click on that and then select copy image, and then we'll close our web browser. We're done with that. You're going to go and need to find Paint. And again, I am running Windows XP, so this is a very old version of Paint. You'll have a newer version probably on your system. Either way, you should have a big open work area just like this. Your menu options and things will be different, obviously. But what you're going to do is go down here, and you can see how I've got my tool here. If you go down here just off the mat, you can see I get a little arrow to grab the corner. So I'm going to grab that corner and resize it real small. And then I'm going to hold down Control and V, which is the shortcut for paste. And that's going to paste my image that we just put on the clipboard from the Mayflower website. Unselect all that, nothing selected, and then we're going to go to File and Save As. Navigate to where we want to save that. And we're going to call this Reference. And we want to save it as a 24-bit bitmap, which is a nice high resolution, so I have a nice sharp image to work with. Alright, so go ahead and save that. Once you're done with that, we can close Paint. Now, back in Animator, you're going to select Build, and you're going to go to Reference Image. And this brings up this little editor. Under File Image, we're going to go to Load, and then navigate to your image, which is here as reference, and we're going to open that, and then we're going to say OK. And what that will do is bring your reference image into the program, just like that. If your image doesn't look like this, if your image looks something like this and is actually flat, like it's laying down on a table or something, and it's actually nothing showing in the front view, go ahead and double click the image and make sure all of your orientations are set to 0. And what that does is it sets it right side up and makes it so it's in the right window in the right location. Alright, the next thing we need to do is move this to the rear of the workspace because we don't want it right on top of what we're working on, we want it behind it. So to do that, we're going to use the Move tool. Oh, by the way, you want to make sure that up here in Mode, you are in the Object Edit, which is this arrow here, and then that gives you these tools here. So what we're going to do is grab the Move tool, which is this. You can see down here in the lower left it says Move as I mouse over that. So that's the Move tool. I'm also going to want to isolate the Y-axis, so that makes the image move straight back. I don't have to worry about it moving side to side or up and down. So from the top view, with Y isolated, by just clicking on the Y, that isolates it, and then having the Move tool selected, I'm going to click in the top view and drag the image to the rear just like that. You can see it moving to the right there. Alright, so we're going to move it to the back, probably about right there, should be far enough. And then we're going to right click to re-enable my XYZ, and then we're going to go back and select the selection tool. Okay, so we've got the image in place, we've got it wherever we want it. Let's go ahead and save our project. So we're going to save as, and we're going to call this Toolbox. Alright, so now we have saved our project. There it is right there. So now this actually has a name. This is an animator project and it's Toolbox. Okay, so we have our image. So now we're ready to build an actual three-dimensional image based on the profile of the actual balloon. Make sure you're in the selection mode, and then we're going to go down here, and in the shapes menu we're going to grab the sphere. So select that, and then in the front view going to click and drag an image just like that, about that size. That's probably good, just so we can select it. Okay, once you have that open, you're going to double click on it, and we're going to go to the editor of the sphere here, and under parameters you have diameter. We're going to set that to 11 because we're making an 11-inch balloon. And then down here in the divisions we have longitude and latitude. Now it's kind of a rough looking sphere right now, so to smooth that out and make it a little more round, we're going to double this to 24 by 16 and say OK. And now you can see the sphere looks a lot more round. I'm going to go to Edit. While the sphere is still selected, I'm going to go to Edit, Locate, and then we're going to center about origin. And what that does is it moves that object we just built, snaps it right to the middle of the screen just like that. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is, this is still a spline. You cannot edit a spline. We need to, while this is highlighted, going to go to Build, and we're going to convert this to a mesh, and what you'll see is it turns white. So now when you select it, it's white, no longer yellow. That is now an object that we can edit. Alright, so we're going to go to the front view and do one view, so the full screen is just the front. We need to take this background image and scale it closer to the actual size of what we're working with. Now we have grid snapping enabled. We're going to make sure our grid is set to 0.25, which is what you should be. And we're going to select the background image just by clicking on it. It's selected when you see the yellow box around it. And then over here we have a scale tool. If you're not seeing this scale tool, it's because you're not in the right view. So go here, make sure everything's set, grab the scale tool, and then come over here and you're going to, sorry, let me reselect the image. You're going to use the scale tool, make sure this is selected, and you're going to click and hold and drag to the left and pull this down till it's about the same size as your sphere, which is probably about right there. Alright, so we're going to unselect everything. Go to the object viewpoint option, which changes your options here. And right here, this button, what this does is it resizes the viewport, the view space, to what you're working on. So go ahead and click on that. You can also manually zoom with the zoom tool by dragging like this. If you just click this, it just snaps it right to it for you, nice and easy. Okay, back to the object edit mode. Now we need to make sure our background image and sphere are sized and ready to go as close as we can get them before we start changing the shape. So let's go ahead and select the sphere again, and we're going to isolate the y-axis by clicking on it, left clicking on it, and then go to the move tool, and we're going to come over here and drag this up till it's pretty close. I'm actually going to put it right here because that's kind of centered with what I would call like the equator of the actual balloon. So we're going to put it right there, and as you can see, our background image is still a little bit bigger than what we're working with. So what we're going to do is select the background image. Now this is where we unselect grid snapping up here, so make sure this is not enabled because we're going to do some free-form scaling and moving of points here. So we're going to keep snapping disabled for the rest of this tutorial. Alright, so go into the scale tool, make sure you have your background selected, go to the scale tool, and now you're going to use your keyboard left arrow, and you're going to basically arrow left until the background image is scaled probably right about there, right inside the wireframe. And what I'm looking at is right here at the equator. This is all I'm caring about. Is our scale correct here? Because this is when they say a balloon is 11 inch, this is where they're taking that measurement. 11 inches around basically the center of the balloon, the biggest part of the balloon. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, so we can deselect everything. Now, let's go ahead and go to File and Save, because because we're going to start moving points around, and sometimes the program doesn't like that and can do some strange things. Alright, we're going to keep our y-axis isolated because we're only moving points up and down. Now, this is the Object Point Edit option. When you click on that, you can see we get a whole different set of tools down here. Don't worry about these other tools. This is some kind of advanced stuff you really don't need to work with right now. Right here under Component, you're going to see a Vertex Select. This is an Edge Select, and this is a Face Select. These are the three components that make up the 3D shape. And as you can see, these little boxes kind of come up. Those are the faces, and then that's the actual edge. And then these are the vertex or vertexes, however you say that. So we don't want to edit faces and we don't want to edit the edges. We want to edit just the points or the vertex. So you're going to click on just the vertex, which works just like your XYZ, and it isolates just the vertex. You can right click to re-enable these, but we don't want them enabled right now. We want to do just the vertex editing. So make sure you're set up just like this. Now go to the drag select tool, which is here. And again, make sure we're not snapping. And we're going to come down here, and what this tool does is when you drag it around these points, is it selects all of the points within the box. And what it's doing also is you got to remember we're working in 3D. So as I'm selecting this row of points, I'm selecting all of the points completely around the circumference of the sphere. So front to back, side to side, everything is selected. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and draw a small little box and grab this single center point just by itself, just like that. If you get something like that, you got too many. So get it to where you just grab just that center point. And now we're going to use our arrow keys on our keyboard, and we're going to arrow down. And what you can do is just hold the down arrow, and it'll drag this point down just like this. And then when you get close, you can kind of frame by frame it up and down. You can't go left and right because we have Y enabled only, so don't worry about going left and right. So we're going to get that probably about right there. You're still on your selection tool, your drag select tool. Go ahead and grab this entire row right here, which is the next ring, and then we're going to arrow down that row until it lines up with the edge of our background image. Probably about right there. You can see the image isn't quite straight, so you got to kind of split the difference. Probably about right there. And we're going to grab this row, and we're going to do this all the way up the body of the balloon here until the points make an outline matching our reference image. Just like that. That. And then this one maybe a little bit. Right there. This middle one looks good. This one looks good. Okay, so now once we get past the center and all of these kind of look pretty good, we're going to jump all the way up to the top because we're way off up here and do the same thing and grab this middle one, and now you're going to arrow up and drag that up to the edge of the image. And just work the same way, but this time obviously moving everything with the up arrow until we get a nice outline of the top of the image. And you might have to kind of do what I'm doing, kind of tweak it up and down, kind of look at the image as a whole. How does it look? Do things look like they're lining up? And what you really want to look at is the wire. Make sure you're kind of outlining exactly what we've got back there. And what you can do too is you can go to the view mode here, and if you select the image, the background image, you can press H on your keyboard, and that is a shortcut for hide. Shift H unhides. So H to hide, Shift H to unhide. Excuse me, losing my voice over here. So we can hide that background image and see that's a pretty good shape. I'm pretty happy with that. And now we can go to View All, and that brings back all of our viewpoints. And if we go to the left view and we select the Smooth Shaded, you'll see we actually have a 3D image of our 11-inch balloon. Going to all the viewpoints here. Go to Perspective, One View. If you go to the eyeball here and you go to the Zoom option, you can zoom in and out by clicking and dragging left and right. So we'll zoom that in, and then we'll select the Smooth Shaded, and then you can select the Rotate View, which is here, enable your XYZ, make sure they're all enabled by right-clicking them. And now you can drag over here and actually rotate the image around and get a look at it and see what you think. And you can see you've now basically made a 3D image of a Qualitex balloon. It looks like it's made out of, lumpy gray clay right now, but we'll change that later when we put colors on it. But you have successfully built your first 3D model. If you're happy with that shape, you can go ahead and click on the background image and then hit delete on your keyboard to delete it. Go to File and Save, and then if you go to the eyeball here and you click this option, which is Frame All Views, it resizes all the viewports to what you're working on just like that, and we'll click them all to the actual 3D view. So there you go. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we're going to take this particular object and use it to build an actual toolbox. So that one should be, I'm going to try and get that one up tonight as well.